You're listening to Greater Good Radio Hawaii. Please visit us online at greatergoodradio.com. Today's guest is David Carey, President and CEO of Outrigger Enterprises, Inc. Mr. Carey is a member of numerous business and community organizations. He was a past chair of the Chamber of Commerce Military Affairs Council. He is a trustee of Punahou School and is the chairman of implementing of parts of the Act 51.
It seems that with the Hawaii Business Roundtable, the leaders in that program are all socially conscious. What do you think about business leaders in smaller companies, or maybe they might not be at the highest level of their company? Should they get involved with doing community things as well?
Well, you know, we all live in the community, and it's probably easier in a large company where you have more resources and more people. And I mean, I have lots of people working for me doing most of the real work. But if through the engagement in the community, you know, it provides a personal level of moral satisfaction. But it also makes a difference because generally people that run companies are knowledgeable, smart, and capable. And so those are the kinds of people that I believe should really apply their talents to help make the lives of all of us better. And it doesn't have to be in massive ways. It can be in little ways. Here a project, there a project. And particularly a place if someone has some passion about it. I mean, I'm somewhat passionate about education, so it's very easy for me to get motivated in that. So I tell kids all the time, find things that you're passionate about, and it'll be easy to find the time to get it done.
You know, I wanted to go back to the Outrigger Industries. Are you able to share with us how the transition of the growth happened with you folks? Was that in your plan when you first became part of the executive team?
Well, it's an interesting story. I mean, we were founded by a couple who really designed, built, and then ran and believed at management by walking around. When my father-in-law took over the business, he felt like we needed to expand it some and began to expand to the neighbor islands. In 1992, we had Hurricane Iniki here, and at 11 a.m. that morning, TV News said it's a Category 5 storm, it's got sustained winds of 175 miles an hour, and it's aimed at Waikiki. And I remember sitting in a ballroom with about 200 of our employees wondering what we were going to do, and I looked out over the room and I said, you know, if that storm comes here, our business is over, or at least for the foreseeable future. And as a prudent company, we had better think about, over the time, diversifying our operations in other places. So it took us a little while to do that, but that was really the impetus that caused us to begin to diversify out into the Pacific. And then we looked for places where both our island marketing experience, our cultural sensitivity, and the like would add value. And so we went to the islands of the Pacific, Australia, New Zealand, and we're in Fiji, Guam, Tahiti. We were in the Marshall Islands for a while. We were in Palau for a while. We'll be in Bali coming up. Places where people come to on vacations, and yet where our cultural style of values management can also make a difference.
Do you go in as Outrigger, or you go in as Ohana?
We go in primarily as Outrigger, although if we have a choice. In Guam, for example, we have one Outrigger on the beach and two Ohanas off beach. Those are the only Ohanas that we have outside of Hawaii at the moment. Most of the other Ohanas are off beach in Waikiki or on the neighbor island. And
can you explain why you folks split off the Ohana kind of line, I guess you would want to call it?
Once upon a time, we were one size. Actually, when I first joined the company, there were only four of the properties were actually named Outrigger, and yet there were 10 or 13. When I first joined the business, we said, gee, you know, we've got this great name. Why don't we name all of our properties Outrigger? At that time, they were all relatively comparable quality, relatively similar room style. With the advent of the bubble economy, the market went up. And so we began to reinvest in a number of the properties, and we got better payback, frankly, closer to the beach. So we dramatically improved our properties near the beach. And as we began to expand in the Pacific, all of those were all brand new builds. So the older properties that were built a long time that weren't quite on the beach and maybe didn't get as much investment were of a different caliber, really, than the stuff that was on the beach or the new stuff that was in the Pacific. And it was confusing the customer. So we said, gee, we really need to sort this out. So the Outrigger brand has the most legs. We like that. We're going to keep that in our beachfront properties. And we wrestled with what do we do about name. And it's very interesting, we started talking about different names, and some of our employees said, oh no, you mean we're not going to be part of Outrigger? I mean, we're part of the Outrigger Ohana. And we said, we really are on Ohana as a company. Let's call these Ohana hotels. So that's really the genesis of that naming division. What it enabled to do is to us to tell the customers the Outrigger are nicer properties on the beach, and the Ohanas are clean, simple, fun. They're good and clean, but they're more in a mid-price range as opposed to a luxury property on the beach.
You know, your expansion international, are you able to give us some tips on doing business international, of how to be successful when expanding?
Well, I think that the thing that's worked best for us has been to find a local partner where we have a community of interest, common interests. In Guam, we have a local family who's been our owner and partner down there. In Fiji, we have an individual who's owned and been involved in that for a long time. In Tahiti, the owner that we have there has been involved for a long time. Australia was a little bit different. We started out partners with a local company, but we found that our name was known enough and there was enough cultural similarity that we were able to build our own infrastructure. But, the short answer is find a local partner that you share your dreams and visions with and that understands the local underpinnings, in the same way as when somebody moves from the mainland and comes to Hawaii.
Can you talk real briefly about Military Affairs Council and why you're involved with that, why it's important?
The military, it's very interesting. I got involved in the military because I got to know some guys from some event sponsorship that we did, and I realized that the officers in the military, most of them have been in 20 different cities over the course of their life. They're tremendously intelligent individuals, so what I've tried to do is extend out a welcome hand so that when they're in Hawaii, they really feel like they're welcome here. And then as a company, we've tried to help the enlisted personnel for a couple of reasons. One, because we're pleased that they're working for the country, but also because eventually they'll be good customers. And if we take care of them here, we hope that they'll come back and see us again.
Thanks for joining us today on Greater Good Radio. For more information or a transcript of today's show, please visit us online at greatergoodradio.com. This is your host, Evan Leong and Carey Leong, saying please join us next time for another episode of Greater Good Radio, Hawaii.